I, like Chris, would like to thank Dan, thank Rudy. The interesting part is that I agree with much of what Chris said. The federal government policy is far from perfect. It needs to be fixed. Where Chris and I disagree is the end result. I don't believe marijuana should be legal, but I think policy needs to be fixed. I think there is probably a middle ground if well-meaning people on each side could sit down and argue it out unemotionally. A lot of people could probably come to agreement. The problem is there are too many fundamentalists on each side of the argument, whether it be reform fundamentalists or people on my side of the argument who are fundamentalists. Second thing, I want to support norml. I disagree with your goal. I absolutely agree with your working towards a goal by doing a process and getting your butts out and doing something. I see too many kids who sit back and complain about the system but do absolutely nothing. So I absolutely support every one of you who are here tonight from norml. And I thank you for giving both Chris and I a fair, open argument. The interesting part is the title of the speech. I mean, Chris does not act like a head to me. The problem, I said to him before, the problem with the pro-legalization side of the argument is they're taken over by lawyers in suits. There are very few people who argue it on a cultural issue anymore. And I'm the first to point out to you, I'm not a Fed. I did 25 years of it. I like to think I know both sides of the issue. Is present marijuana policy perfect? Far from it. Let me be very clear up front. I don't think kids should be denied funding for scholarships if they have been arrested and convicted for marijuana possession charges. I think that's just crazy. I think it is also crazy public policy to throw people in jail for the use of any drug. I think that is a foolish public policy that needs to be looked at. It is a huge waste of money. And so there are a lot of things that we could probably agree on. How we get to the end, we would disagree on. I will look at Chris tonight and tell him absolutely up front. The day that he can get the majority of American public to support legalization of recreational marijuana, I think we should do it. I would disagree with it, but I do have the right. You do have the right. I've been to 73 countries with DEA. One of the things I found out is every other system in the world stinks until you, our system stinks until you compare it to every other country in the world. And so get out there and get the votes. Why did Prohibition fail? Because it did not have the support of the American public. The problem with this argument is the vast majority of Americans are in fact against recreational use of marijuana. Americans are inherently, generally in favor of medical marijuana because we as Americans generally feel sorry for sick people and want to help them. That's the goodness that God gives us. But if you ask the question, are you in favor of recreational marijuana, most people will say no. Now the problem with folks on Chris's side of the argument is they are too slick to argue the recreational marijuana argument because they know, frankly, that's a losing political issue. Instead, they intellectualize the argument. Their strongest suit, of course, is medical marijuana. Just like I think government policy is stupid in a lot of areas, I think having Americans vote on whether something is a good medicine or a bad medicine is inherently crazy. It should not be left up to whether Chris or I is the better speaker when we present this argument to you on the medical issue. It should be up to scientists and doctors who honestly look at it, not take anecdotal studies, simply look at the evidence and take the decision wherever the evidence goes. It should not be whether George Soros or Peter Lewis puts in $100 million or the government puts in $100 million. Voting on a medicine is truly, I think, one of the more foolish policies I've ever seen. I'll give you an example. Dan has a bad cough. He goes to the doctor here at FAU. She listens to his chest. She said, Dan, you clearly have bronchitis. But I'm not sure if we should give you tetracycline or penicillin. Let's put it up to a vote of the students here at the university and see what they think. How many of you would go back to that doctor? My guess is nobody would. And that's the same thing we are doing with this. We're arguing it on slogans, etc. let the physicians and scientists make the decision on medical marijuana.